found The Naked Truth. Lively discussions about business, marketing, and personal development for small business owners. No hype, just help.
Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday to Paul Ramsey.
Monday, indeed.
I was about to call you Tom. I don't know why.
I don't know what the hell happened with the weekend, but look at me. Look, I can't remember the last time I shaved.
I think you're trying to get to my silky smooth hair. Is that what's happening?
Oh my God, you with the silky smooth hair. What happened? It is still straight at least? It's holding?
Still straight. So I washed it. So everyone who's watching and is kind of like me, and you're into keratin and you hate messing with your hair. And if you're in Austin, Texas, or Round Rock, or the surrounding areas, just to let you know, the lady who did my hair, she's kind of like the Hispanic hairdoer secretly because she only speaks Spanish, saw our live stream and said, hey, thanks so much for talking about my work. I'll come and do this again. So if you want silky smooth hair like mine.
She came and did your hair again?
She did my hair again. And that's why it looks so good.
Luis.
I know, next shower. No, I'm kidding. We'll be done. So guys, wait, hold on.
Already.
We started our Wheel of Names again from scratch this Monday. So if you guys want to have your name on the wheel and maybe win something this Friday, hop on in, BeTheNakedTruth.com/live or comment wherever you've seen us, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube.
All you gotta do is leave a little comment.
Just comment, let us know what's up, because we're going to be sharing tons of really, really interesting stuff today, right? The first one is Paul. Paul not doing what he said he's going to be doing. Paul said that he has a shirt for Zoom.
I totally have a Zoom shirt, but I never wear it for this show. Isn't that funny? I don't. This is an interesting thing. So the article was saying like that there's like this phenomenon that lots and lots of people keep a shirt nearby.
Yep.
Just for when they're on Zoom, and they call it their Zoom shirt, right? And they pull it on. And I have a Zoom shirt right over here. But for this show, I always feel more for this show like I can just be me, so I never put on my Zoom shirt. But when other people, like if people are doing an interview with me or something like that, I pull on my Zoom shirt. I do. But because I love you all so much and I just want to be authentically me with you, I just wear whatever T-shirt or sweatshirt I'm chilling out in. And
you let me take the...
You have Zoom earrings.
I do.
You don't have a Zoom shirt. You have Zoom earrings. You always put your earrings on right before we go.
That's true. You
said them on before. You big faker. You put your earrings on.
It's true. Every time in the green room, I'm like, is this the right earring for today? No, maybe these one are the better one for today. It's so true. My sister was laughing at me because in front of my computer here, I have a stand with all my earrings and everything. And I have my necklaces laid around.
Adornment. I have to adorn myself before I go live. Yeah.
Because it's my face. It's going to be forever on the internet. So, yes, Lisa is saying that's for those who are in their PJs. So, actually, it's funny because my son woke up and he goes like, he's pointing at my pants. And I was like, why are you pointing at my pants? Like, what's wrong? Is there something wrong? And he's like, why do you have a PJ on? Why are you still with your PJ? And I'm like, because all they see is from here up. I don't need to worry about this thing. So...
It's one of the great things of our age. So you can you can be half of one person and half of another person at the same time.
It's today. You see me all dressed up,
good.
But I got my PJ on. So, so speaking of PJ, Mystery Realm in Twitch says that's funny. Yes, it is. Warren Buffett is back in the game. Paul Ramsey, what is that about?
Well, so you know what? I thought was something that like I'm not. I think Warren Buffett's cool, whatever. But it's more the thing that it brings up is so people love to follow him. They call him the Oracle of Omaha, right? And they always watch what he does to get hints about what they ought to do. The people who speculate in that world. And I think the thing that he's representing here is, so he hadn't been doing anything. He had been sitting and not taking action. And I guess it was freaking his followers out. And then he finally, just last week, he spent $9.7 billion to buy up the assets of a natural gas company. Right. And I was like, how nice must it be? I guess he has $147 billion, what they call war chest. It's like just his money just to like acquire other things. Right. Yeah. So he goes and drops 9.7 billion. No big deal. Like,
but you know what's amazing about the guy is like how patient he is.
Right.
He's just waiting and waiting, and it, like nothing influences him. The media doesn't influence him, nothing like that. He's like very strict. This is what I do, and I'm just waiting patiently, and then I'm gonna do it.
But the bigger thing here is, I think that the theme is people with money are going to make a lot more money because of this pandemic. People who are like Warren Buffett, maybe not at that scale, but still, if you're in real estate and you've got money that you've been holding, like people are going to start losing their homes. Their businesses are closing. Like, and you did that program with Roland Frazier that was basically built around this idea, right? Of like every day, something like 500 small businesses close. And that was before, that was just the normal number before the pandemic, right? So if you're paying attention and you're watching, you can be your own little Warren Buffett and you can scoop stuff up now for pennies on the dollar. And then with a good plan, you can make a ton of money as you solve the issues that those other business owners weren't able to solve. Still, at the end of the day, it's speculation, right? And it's like day traders. We all want to think we're pretty good at this stuff, and most of us just aren't. So I will not be running out to scoop up a bunch of businesses.
Well, you know what? Since you brought it up, I did take the course, and I am really, really impressed with Roland's strategy, as you know, because I dragged you into it. But it is fantastic. And some of the things that Roland was talking about is that not just because of the crisis, but a lot of people are selling their businesses either because they move or they retire or they're just done, doing that. And yesterday we were talking, Friday, we were talking with Jason, who was talking about how he got his project manager because she was self-employed and just got tired of running a business. Right. And so there's so many opportunities out there. And since the pandemic started, I feel like I'm in a race because I'm in circles where everybody's taking advantage of these opportunities. And I'm like, I'm not doing enough. So there's always something, and it's fantastic to watch, Buffett taking action because it's a good sign. So it's Mist Ram. And he's saying that it was funny because I have my Zoom earrings thrown around. And Lisa is saying that Patricia Fripp, I don't know who she is, tells me not to have dangled earrings because it distracts. Is it distracting you, Paul?
Well, when you do like that, but no one does it like that. Patricia needs to chill out and let people express themselves. Like if your earrings, if you got like LED
shining stuff,
laser beam earrings or something, maybe that's a bit too much, but I think you'll be all right. You'll be okay.
I think so. Lisa, it's all good. Come on in and tell me that to my face, lady. Speaking to my face, Walmart is competing with Amazon.
Which, if anyone can, it's them, right? I mean, two just behemoths in retail. So
it's really
I don't know why I would have told you this. I got hired. I did a show once in Bentonville, Arkansas, where the Walmart is like headquartered, and the Walton family, a lot of them still have homes there and everything. And that was a totally surreal experience. Like if you go there is apparently a lot of donating that happens from the Walton family. And so when you go to Bentonville, Arkansas, like it felt like, for those of you, this is something like a way back, but go the Back to the Future movies. The little town in the past when Keaton's not Michael Keaton,
Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox.
Yeah. When he goes back in time to that old town, it was like that town. It had a little clock tower where the lightning hit, and it was incredible. Like it was almost like Disney World. There was no trash on the ground anywhere. Everything was immaculately clean. It was really, I mean, it was cool. I don't mean it in any kind of a bad way, but he was like, man, I feel like I'm not in a normal, real place right now, because they were making sure that things were taken care of. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice if that was kind of like the norm? Like you wouldn't go like, oh, this is weird because there's no trash on the ground.
Right?
He'll be like, oh, it's weird because there's trash on the ground. Like, what a world we live in. And speaking of Walmart, Walmart, it's really interesting because the social viewing of Walmart, if you will, because Walmart always kind of like the bad company that mistreats their employees and running sellers down and running prices down.
But that's the same thing people say about Amazon, right?
Really?
Like it's the same criticism. Yeah.
Okay, in that case, they're both in the same wall.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's like you feel almost like you should want to root for one. Yeah. Right? You go, so Walmart, technically here, Walmart's the underdog, right? They're trying to go, should you root for the underdog or should you root for Amazon? And, you go,
yeah.
I don't know.
But Amazon has kind of like a little bit more of quality control, right? Like, prices.
Again, it's hard because Walmart's really just getting into it. So I think it will be interesting. Again, as a general rule, competition is good for consumers, right? Yeah. So I have been reading articles about how Amazon is just crushing it now in the pandemic. Like people are ordering more stuff because they don't want to go out and get it in person, and Amazon's just been crushing it. And so you go, maybe it's good that this makes them feel like they can't rest on their laurels. Walmart gives them competition, both trying to capture, like consumer market share. And so maybe we all will benefit in some ways that we can notice and that matter to us. I don't know. Again, I'm not an economist.
It'll be interesting. Speaking of, remember back in the days of Google Plus when Google came out with the real name policy and pissed everybody off? And people were like, oh, I can't log into my YouTube account now because, of real name, and I don't really want to have my real name out there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, so now Amazon is making their sellers actually have a real name policy, identify themselves, and tell people where they're located, so that there's more trust and more transparency. And this is really interesting, right? Because I wonder, why would you want to sell on Amazon and not be known, like in your real name? Like, are you?
Because you don't want people following up with you when you sell them like fake products.
But again, Amazon has a policy where you can return all that stuff anyway.
I know, but still, like, it's the scale they operate at is so big, right? That people are still pulling that kind of crap, and that's where it does hurt everyday people like you and me. So that's why people want to be anonymous, so that they can get away with stuff like that. And it's good that Walmart, that Amazon's taking
Amazon is doing that. So
this.
Right now they're doing this change for their seller, affects 500,000 third-party sellers in the U.S. marketplace. So that's very interesting, right? Because you would think these are foreigners that are scamming people, but no, they're all in the U.S.
No, we got cheaters just like everybody
everywhere,
else.
Right? So that's interesting to me, because I'm like, okay, what will come of that? Right? Are people going to be like, I don't want to be on Amazon, if I can't hide? Or will it make it better because we actually know who the sellers are?
Hopefully it will clear out some of the losers, who are trying to scam us, right? And it will make some of the people who aren't losers but are maybe not so concerned with providing the best customer service. Maybe it will make them be a little more honest, right? Like on their toes. Yeah,
maybe.
We'll see.
Maybe it'll be interesting. It's just funny to me where in the Google Plus days, people were so mad about, like, I need to show who I am. And so I'm really wondering what's going to happen now with...
But that was a different thing. You know why they were mad back then, Yvonne? Was because they loved to troll. Yeah. And they knew that they couldn't troll anonymously anymore.
That's true.
And it pissed them off. I literally, back when that happened, I remember I saw a guy make a YouTube video in which he just flat out said that. He said, I love trolling people. It's one of my favorite things to do. And now I can't do it. And it pisses me off. And I was like, what is your deal?
Get pissed off and get off, like disappear,
Right?
like
Like,
why? Yeah.
then yeah, go find another hobby, man. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So speaking of Amazon and Walmart and retail and companies, Brooks Brothers is filing for bankruptcy.
Brooks Brothers is yet another name, and then the other one. Throw up the Bloomberg article if
This
you
one?
can. The one that says on
Yeah.
100. Yeah. Look, scroll down and look at. They made on Bloomberg. They made like a map.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Look
Wow.
at that thing. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like it names the names, like energy companies, addiction centers, like bakeries,
Hertz, JCPenney,
airlines,
yeah.
Hertz, JCPenney.
The Roman Catholic Church
I don't know about that.
Archdiocese of New Orleans. Wow. Gold's
Bouncy
Gym.
house companies.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Gold's
Frontier.
Gym. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a long-standing brand, like.
Cannabis?
So just the
Wait,
Roman Church for New Orleans.
Cannabis is going out of business. CBD sales are hurting.
Right? I mean, it's touching, and that's again where this is the part we don't want to be like too fear-mongerish, right? But the
Yeah.
reality is, it's touching everything, and there's a
Yeah.
real. You start thinking about the impact on the economy of when everything is being touched like that. It's pretty serious.
It's very, very interesting, right? Because we are changing. And so we just started with Warren Buffett and how people are capitalizing on opportunities and crisis. And then on the other hand, we have this kind of thing. It's almost kind of like, the Industrial Revolution. Are you talking?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Oh, I saw your lips moving, but I
Yeah,
didn't
I
hear
got
you.
someone just came into my house for a minute, so I just had to.
I was like, are we talking at the same time? Okay. So what's interesting, since Paul is talking to someone else, that it's almost kind of like the Industrial Revolution, right? That was changing things. And now we're having this digital revolution that's happening by force, not by choice. And we are forced to kind of like change and move and use the tools that we already have, the internet, Zoom, live video screening, and it's pushing everybody to really evolve faster, right? So now we have more medical solutions, more robotics coming in, more online communication, more people are working from home. And I was talking to my mom today, and she's like, yeah, it's very bad. A lot of people are working from home. And I'm like, it's fantastic. No more traffic jams, no more air pollutions, no more sitting in traffic, not having to spend, waste 2 hours back and forth, not having the overheads, not having the parking lots. Like there's so many things that we can change to have a much better life. And it's just because it's forced on people that we're kind of like objecting it. But like you and I were talking about with Tom Chidi earlier, how people were talking about this years ago. And it was just taking so slow to change.
Well, that's the catch, though. Ifad is like, there aren't enough people talking about it. That's where the problem is, right? Is there have been people talking about this for years, but there's such a small percentage. Like this needs to be a mainstream conversation. And what happens is a lot of people don't want to talk about it because it scares them, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just scary to think about. You go, look, that's not a good enough reason. It's just not a good. You have to start talking about what does it mean when these kind of huge evolutionary leaps in our cultural system happen, when technology changes at such a level that it forces cultural change as
Yeah.
well. If we don't talk about that, like that's where you're gonna really have like people having enormous, and it already is happening, right? There's people who have enormous stress about the
Yeah.
idea that their job may go away someday.
Right.
Well, you know what? Sitting there and being stressed about it isn't gonna help you solve anything. Like
No, it's not.
we got to start looking at like how do we reskill people? How do people learn new things? How do people move in new directions? How do we, again, one of the articles I threw up for today, I was you might have to jump, but this is related.
This one?
The one that one, yeah, that one's cool, right? Is at least they're having that conversation. Like, how can you think about future-proofing your career?
Right.
Like, how can you actively think about what can you do rather than just being like business as usual in whatever
Right,
you do?
Right. And no one
Right?
really
How
has
can you
job
think
security
ahead?
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's in my world, in my entertainment life, right? There's a lot of stage hypnotists. There's more stage hypnotists out there than most of you would be aware. Like we're not like plumbers where we're everywhere, or electricians, right? But there's more of us than you would think. And so many of them right now are just sort of waiting for the chance to go back to work. And it's like, I don't think you can just literally wait to go back to work. You've got to think about like, how might the medium stage hypnotism have to change? How might we have to really change how we do it, why we do it the way we do it? And if you're not thinking about that, you could be putting yourself at risk for just being downsized by the industry, basically, since we don't work for companies. But that, and the other thing is, where's the article? Hold on, the one about artificial intelligence. I said the latest sign of the apocalypse. Can you find that one?
Yes, right there, AI.
Yeah, so this is yet another. We did an article like this a few weeks ago, but Carnegie Mellon has come up with something that will help you have good manners in your communication. And on the one hand, I'm like, okay, cool. If it helps, it's helpful, that's great. But the other flag for me is we shouldn't need an artificial intelligence program to teach us how to have good manners.
Right.
Like the idea that our gap has gotten to the point where someone's like, you know what, we should just make a program that does that. No, you should fucking teach each other how to be polite to one another. Need a program to monitor that. Like, everyday people should be teaching their children how to be kind, compassionate, and polite to one another. Period.
You know, but it's very interesting because I think we're in such I don't know, like what do you call that? Not a melting point, but like something that's about to explode. What do you call those? Pressure cooker?
Oh, okay. Pressure cooker, yeah.
But there's like this thing, right, where all you need is a spark and then it explodes. What do you call those? Come on, English teacher.
Powder keg?
Maybe.
I don't know, the old one metaphor for that is it's a powder keg. It's ready to go off at any minute.
Like we're in kind of like, you know, like this little weird position where everybody's so on the edge because you don't know what's going to happen. And, you know, we have everything that's happening at once. We have global warming, right? The heat wave that is going through the US. We have the mask debate. We have the job debate. We have the stimulus check debate. Like there's so many things that are happening right now that people are so on the edge. So every time you say something, they just like take it personally, right? It's a personal attack now that you say, and this just happened with you and I, right? When I was like, hey, why are we doing this? And you're like, well, fuck it, you do it.
But so that's a good reminder, right? So the best book for that I've ever read in my life is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, right? Mm-hmm. And in The Four Agreements, he lays out, it's like a narrative about how it came from an old culture and stuff. But the Four Agreements, the first one is don't make assumptions, right? So don't, and we do that. It's so easy for us to do that nowadays. So first thing is a life habit, don't make assumptions. Yeah. The other big one is, the other one is always do your best, right? Yeah. So if you can have as a life rule that you don't make assumptions, you always do your best, and then don't take things personally, right? And I think that's the other thing is we're in this thing where when we get scared and we're worried about ourselves, we get more self-centered, right? Because we're in like threat assessment mode. Yeah. And I think there has to be an active teaching and practicing for all of us right now of like, it's not all about us. Yeah. Like, it's just not, right? It's not all about me all the time. So if we can actually start to practice that and be like, don't make it all about you. Don't take everything personally, right? And we've got to have some concrete steps like that come back into the mainstream culture of like people practicing this and modeling it for young people, so that we get back on track. But there's got to be, the answer can't be to just create computer programs for everything. Like, because ultimately we are the ones, we have to do this stuff.
Speaking of, AI doing everything for us, have you seen Elon Musk's Neuralink? Have you heard about that one?
I've heard about it only a little. I don't know. Is there a new development with that?
There is, but before I go, so Crystal says ticking time bomb and Lisa says ticking time bomb. Yeah, but it's like not just like a ticking time bomb, but also like you feel pressured, right? Until you explode. So maybe a pressure cooker, I don't know, like something like that. And Lisa says people default to the negative before the positive. We do, and I think it's because of fear, right? Like,
it's all part of that threat assessment system. Yeah, it's self-preservation. So again, it's where when we talk about like that, like I cannot get mad about it, right? I can say, I understand that's part of how we're hardwired. It's part of our survival mechanism. But I'm like, but we're also the most cognitively evolved species on the
Some
planet.
of us.
We have this big, beautiful brain, right? And so we've got to use that. And we've got to use this beautiful brain we have to override some of that base instinct stuff.
And you saying this very much like a program. So we need to use this to override. And this is exactly what Elon Musk is saying. So do you remember Elon Musk at the beginning? He was like really warning everybody of AI and AI taking over, and we need to have ethics around it. He was very, very much against AI. And now he came back and said, well, if you can't beat them, join them. And he creates this Neuralink, which is tiny. See this? It's kind of like the size of a penny. And he was talking to Joe Rogan about this. Basically, you're going to need to have you seen that?
That's the last time I heard him talk about it, was on the Joe Rogan episode where he smoked weed with Rogan. That was like, what, over a year ago now, probably?
Yeah, so this one,
it was a while ago, but it wasn't super long ago. Yeah.
Where Joe Rogan was like, okay, so how is it going to happen? And Elon said, well, you're going to have to drill a hole in your brain, kind of like the size of this penny that is showing here. And you're going to have to drill that hole and put this Neuralink that you can see that's going to connect your brain, to its different parts and connects it to AI. And now this is going to control some of your functioning. So Elon says this is going to improve your sight. It's going to help you with all kinds of brain diseases, dementia, all kind of stuff. And he's going to give, this is the new update that on August 28th, he's going to give a progress update of where that's happening. And so what's super weird about this one is like, I think our generation is going to be like, dude, you're not drilling into my skull anything, right? But then the kids who are growing up with virtual reality and the watches and so connected to electronics going like, why not? Let me become bionic.
Yeah. There's this interesting thing. Again, this is about the way human beings, just sort of broadly speaking, are. I've been really noticing lately all these posts. Like I saw a post the other day that I was like, oh, where it was like the idea of the post was don't go get tested for COVID, because why do they need to put the swab so far back? Why can't they just get mucus from the front of your nose? Is it because they're implanting something in you, right? Like this is where, and I'm like, the amount of energy we expend on being afraid that people are controlling us, I'm like, you already work in a society where you willingly let them give you a number that identifies you, a social security number. You carry a cell phone with you all the time, can track where you are, what you're doing, right? Like we have so many things in place already that allow us to be observed and kept track of. I'm like, what on earth makes you think that we need to go to that extreme at this? Like it just isn't. I'm like, what do you mean? Like you already.
Are you saying like why use this, or are you saying why not?
No, I'm saying why do people get so bent out of shape about these types of things when they come out? This constant fear. I'm like, you're already participating in a highly like controlled social contract.
Okay, so maybe I have a thing, right? You can decide to get off the grid even with some of your electronic devices. You can use Tor, you can use VPS, you can use different things to make sure that you're not being tracked. And you still can use these devices for communication. With this thing, how are you going to take it out of your brain and
yeah, this is a big step forward in that way. Yeah, right. You're making a serious commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we were saying at the beginning, I don't know who's controlling that stuff. Elon Musk, I kind of trust with Tesla and everything. Zuckerberg, not really. Google, not anymore.
Well, I mean, it's like, but the amount of, okay, let's use a different example, but I think it's a really germane one. 23andMe, right?
Yeah.
All these people are giving each other Christmas presents where they're doing these, I don't know, there's other brands too, right? But these 23andMe where they pull all your DNA. You're giving them your genetic data.
Yeah.
They can turn around and sell it to anyone they want. They can start marketing you for whatever you're at risk for. If you have markers that you're more like, if it's fun, oh, I got a Christmas present. It's fun. I want to find out if I'm really Greek or not, right? Like, you're like, meanwhile, you just gave all your genetic data. So, and again, I'm not saying I'm against that. Like, I'm just saying it's funny how people don't connect those dots.
Yeah.
You know, they'll do that, but they won't do this.
Yes, it's very interesting. You know, the conspiracy theories that we choose to connect to. Like my dad was saying, you know, we have in Israel a biometric passport where, I don't know, do they have it? I think they have it in the States, right?
I don't know. Tell me more about that. What do you mean when you say biometric?
So basically, you don't need to really have your passport scanned. You'll scan your face and you'll move. So it doesn't get stamped anymore or anything like that. There's no stamps. It's just like you put it in, they scan your face and you go. There's no lines or nothing.
Really?
And so so his friends are going like, are you crazy? Why would you give them your face and everything? And my dad's, come on, they already have everything, right?
Right? Like, you think they don't have your face already? Your face has been in the DMV for the whole time you got the license.
Yeah.
Right? Like.
Yeah. It's very interesting to see what pushes our buttons. For me, it's kind of like just like who owns my data, right? That's my only thing. Who owns my data and what are they doing with it? So Zuckerberg monetizes it for personal profit, right? Google, a little bit better. A little bit.
They all do.
Tesla, I'm okay with you, you know, so far. But I don't know, that's the personal thing. So let's finish with this one. We're talking about jobs. We're talking about, you know, getting ready for the future, protecting yourselves. Influencers are now unionizing. Instagram influencers specifically, and specifically minorities. So there are two groups, one in the States and one in the UK, and they formed unions to protect the rights, particularly of people of color, because apparently businesses are not staying true to their agreements and are not paying influencers and are taking advantage of them. And it's very, very interesting because I think, you know, there's two sides for it, right? So there are influencers who are buying followers, and so there's no return on investment to the business. And there are like that influencer who had 23 million followers and could not sell 32 shirts.
Right.
So why pay her, right? And so it's very interesting to see like how are they going to create these contracts with one another of like, what do you deliver as an influencer? Is it only impressions? Is it sales? Is it clicks? Right? And how do you measure that stuff? And here's Paul gone again. We're losing Paul. So if you're watching this right now, what do you think? Do you think like influencers should be unionized? Do you think this is kind of like a very gray area where you decide like, how do you know who's an influencer, who's not an influencer? What should they get paid? How do they decide? And if you recall, we had a conversation with Philip Stutz, who is running the Consumer Report and kind of like finding out what people really care about during this time.
Right.
And during this time, people care about trust, safety, and taking care of others. So Philip was saying all those influencer marketing where it's status and bikinis and all that stuff doesn't matter anymore because we're in a new economy. So I wonder how that affects the relationships between influencers and their companies. So it's
there's ever since he said that, I always felt like he gave a really articulate explanation of that and everything, but there's no way that something just completely goes away. Like that's the part that I was like, okay, I get the general part of what Philip was saying. I was like, but there's always going to be people who care about influencers. There's always going to be some influencers, like maybe it shrinks to a huge, amount or something. I was like, there's no way that the power of influencers is just going to go away.
Right. So he's not necessarily talking about influencers, but like aspiration or status and stuff like that. So if the influencer is only selling their body, then nobody cares about this anymore because I need to pay my rent. Right. So the aspirational marketing is not working anymore.
Right. But there's still, again, you can't say that even. Like, you can't say aspirational marketing doesn't work anymore. There will always be human beings who aspire to something else. So you can say that the value of it's gone way, way down, but you can never make an absolute statement like that. There will always be people who aspire to something else, and that aspiration makes them, targets for marketing. Like, that's, but what I think is interesting about what Philip was onto, though, is like, I wish when we had that conversation with him, we could have said like, okay, what level is it at and what level has it gone down to? Like, was it at like, I wish there was a way to really quantify it.
So actually
like,
there is.
say,
There is. And he's sharing that. He's doing a consumer report once a month. Now he's on the 4th one. He's giving it away for free on his website. So you can see exactly what changes. And in the last month, the twist that happened is that people care more for local businesses than they do national. So it's actually very, as a business owner that is advertising and marketing and wanting to work on your messaging, if you position yourself as a local business that is trustworthy and safe and helps other people, then you would get more business than if you position yourself as like an aspirational or influential, business. That's the message.
But see, again, this is where, so like, there's a difference between what people report on a survey and what they actually do. Like, so people can say they care more about local businesses, but don't you wish you could actually look at their credit card statements and see how much they're still buying from Amazon? Because I guarantee you the majority of them are still trying to save money by buying on Amazon and getting the convenience of having it delivered. They're not getting in their car and going down to the local hardware store and buying it at the local hardware store. Some of them are. But overwhelmingly, even the ones who are reporting and say, I really want to support local business, of course they really want to. But like, how does it play out? What it really plays out, human beings do what's the least amount of energy and which they perceive as the most benefit to themselves. And for most people, that's still going to be buying shit at Amazon and Walmart.
It's interesting, actually. I haven't read the 4th one, the 4th consumer report. I'm planning on it, so we'll get back to that.
Let's do it. Let's look at it and go again.
Yeah.
And I think it's. I'm not saying that Philip is wrong. And I think Philip would agree with this because he's so smart about this stuff. I just think there's always some slippage between what people report, because sometimes what they report is the story they want to believe about themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what? It's actually also depends on the questions that are being asked. Right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. So the good news is that Christelle and Lisa and Miss Traum is on our wheel. We have a few more spots for you guys, and the good thing is we have a whole week to fill it up. So all you have to do is comment, interact, hop on in, and you can get on our wheel of names. Tomorrow, we're doing something super, super cool. Tomorrow, we are talking about Canva, and we are going to compare the free version with the paid version. So if you don't know what Canva is a web-based application that allows you to create amazing graphics, even if you're not a graphic designer. Paul has the free version, I have the paid version. Tomorrow we're going to show you the differences, and we're going to show you a little bit of how I use it to batch images and batch social posts and all that stuff and make things faster. So tomorrow, same place, same time, same host, same co-host. Right here. We'll see you then.
Hey, if you enjoyed today's episode, come back and spend more time with us. You could be on the broadcast sharing your thoughts. We hang out live Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern at www.bethenakedtruth.com/live.